Hey, how's it going, everyone? Justin again, as always. Thanks for watching my channel. Welcome back. Today we're talking about the dealership life versus the independent shop life. Some of the differences that I've noticed along the way, and some of the things that I was unaware of when I was younger and first starting out. When I first started off, I started off at a tire and lube shop, and if I had to do it all over again, that's the exact path that I would have taken. I probably would have been a little bit smarter with my money, and I probably would have held on to a lot more tools than I got rid of, but that'll be another topic. At any rate, dealerships versus independent shops. Some things that I noticed at the dealership, everything is very fast-paced. I mean, very fast-paced. They want the jobs in, they want them out, they want to upsell flushes, they want to upsell like throttle body injection cleaning services, things like that. Some of the things the vehicles didn't even need, we were being upsold on outside of our upsells. So that means the service writer would actually sell the work that we didn't necessarily recommend, but they'd put it in some kind of package because the customer thought they were saving more money by getting multiple fluid flushes at once versus just getting like one or two that they may have needed. Working over here at the independent shop, we're not really into flushes. We don't try to upsell customers on unnecessary services. Granted, it's always good to change your fluids, and we do recommend like transmission fluid and filter services because you're actually getting a service out of there. You're not just pulling out the dirty fluid and putting in clean fluid until you've gone through like 12 quarts. You're actually draining all the fluid out of the transmission, and you're replacing that filter. You're cleaning off that magnet in the bottom of the trans pan full of its metal and debris buildup that it gets from the clutch material and things like that. So they actually are getting a service that way. As far as like power steering fluid flushes and brake flushes and all that other stuff, it's really not like necessity, I don't think. Here at the independent shop, I think the only time that we've ever actually performed a brake flush is if it was like really oily and contaminated. We don't really use the tester that tests for water or anything like that, the humidity, because it builds up and there's a boiling point to that .3 brake fluid and stuff like that. We really wait kind of like till the customer comes in for the brake job and we're like, hey, you know, you've got some oily residue inside the master cylinder. This could lead to premature failure of the seals and some of the internal components of the brake calipers. Would you like us to flush that fluid out and put new fluid in? Or if we're changing out a brake line, then we'll drain the fluid then and put in new brake fluid. So just some little quirks and things that I've learned along the way, but they don't go out of their way to stretch it out and say, hey, well, we're going to save you money by flushing 3 different systems, and they don't even need it. You know what I mean? So there's no upsell factor there. I know at the dealership they would give you these spiffs off of the top of the flushes, like maybe you get $2 or $3 for a flush, things like that. And they're little tiny stickers, and you usually wait for the mock guy to come by, and he trades you out and gives you a little like a Visa credit card, and you get a few bucks on it for upselling those flushes and things like that. Also, it depends on what independent shop that you're at, but we don't do any tire work here. We actually send them over next door to the tire shop to have tire work done. We do tell customers when their tires are low on tread, or when the wear bars are starting to show, or metal's starting to come through the tires and whatnot. We don't really do tire work here though. At the dealership, we did tire work. It was very hit and miss. It was hard to beat a lot of the sales that like Walmart had to offer and Discount Tire Center had to offer. So we did do tires occasionally, but it wasn't like press. They didn't really press to sell tires because the service writer didn't make any money off the tires. And that's usually where the work came from, is like what the service writer could make money off of and what they couldn't make money off of would really determine the flow of work and what made them to sell those certain things. I had one person, I won't say any names, I had one service writer tell me that they had a previous employee that was a service writer, and she would sell timing belt jobs on cars that had timing chains. I don't know how the heck that was possible or how they ended up doing it, but that's the kind of like lies and cover-ups that, you know, you can expect from certain dealerships and certain shops. So I've even heard of you know, lube techs at Jiffy Lube pulling out air filters that didn't even belong to that car that happened to be dirty and in the trash, and walking in and showing the customer and asking if they wanted to change them out, and it wasn't even their air filter. So there's a lot of different things that are played into that. We're at the independent shop, we're very specific, we're very thorough. We have to go through the entire car. We have a belt checker to check the tread wear on the actual serpentine belts before we recommend them for service. So we're not just changing them out Another thing that I learned about belt checking was that outside of having like more than 3 cracks within like a half an inch of each other, is that there is a depth to it, and when that belt starts to stretch, you're getting close to that wearing point where it could formulate cracks and possibly deteriorate or be damaged as a result of driving. So we're very thorough and we're very involved with the vehicles, and we set tire pressure on every car. That happens at the dealership level too. But our pricing at the independent shop is a lot less than the dealership. Dealerships tend to charge anywhere from $100 to $125 per labor hour. Independent shop depends on who you work for. Ours is somewhere around 80 something dollars. I think it's like $83 per labor hour or something like that. So a little bit more cost effective for the customer to come to an independent shop than it is for them to go to a dealership. We don't rob them on the hours. We pull the hours strictly from Mitchell or All Data, and the labor time is the labor time, and that's the time that we go off of. We're at the dealership, they have some wiggle room. They'll usually get the customer to put down X amount of dollars before they do the service work, and they might tack on extra labor. And some of it's guesswork. Some of it they'll say, well, it's electrical, so that's by the hour. So you're looking at maybe 2 hours for the repair that might only take the technician like 30 minutes. Here at the independent shop, they don't do that. It's usually like 30 minutes to an hour for any electrical repair, whether it takes you longer or a shorter period of time. It's usually right around there. So they don't try to like expand and oversell the job that's not going to take you 2 hours to do it, but they'll still try to charge that. So I noticed a lot of shady things when I was at the dealership. That being said, the other thing is that at the dealership, you have a warranty parts call where usually you have to take the warranty part, put it in a box, put the time, the date, the RO number on it, and then you have to give it back to the parts department so they can stamp off on it. Here at the independent shop, we keep the old parts, whatever comes off the car, and we put them on a little workbench or a little side table. And when the car actually leaves and it's been gone for a couple days, then those items get thrown in the trash, because you never know when the customer is going to ask for their parts back. We've actually had customers request their old parts back so they can take them home with them. I don't know what they do with their old parts, but we do have customers that request their old parts, and we have them handy. At the dealership, if it was customer pay, they all just went in the trash, and anytime the customer asked for them, we'd have to go rooting through the trash to try to pull it out, and that was never like a thing. Like I guess the customers never really, either they never really asked for it, or they say, sorry, it's too late, we've already thrown it away. So really hit and miss as far as like how the dealership ends up handling old parts, whereas at the independent shop, we definitely hang on to them for a little bit of extended period of time just to make sure that the customer doesn't want the old part back, because they might. Also, you never know when you're going to have a core charge, so some fuel pumps require a core charge, some do not. Just depends on who you ordered it from and if they're planning on rebuilding the old one or not. Other things that I noticed between the independent shop and the dealership is the dealership is definitely more fast-paced. When I was there, they wanted you to work on multiple cars at one time, throwing one car behind the other, and so forth. Here, we're more geared towards getting the one job done. Now, obviously, if you're waiting for parts, you can always pull another car up and be working on it while you're waiting for the parts to come in. But we're more focused on that one car and making sure that it's done correctly and that the parts are installed and that they get the overall quality of work. So it's more focused on the quality, not so much the quantity. Or at the dealership, they wanted it in and out, get it in, get it out. So very hit and miss. One thing I do not miss at all about the dealership are the warranty recalls. Now, there was a lot of things with the Takata airbag recalls that were coming in, passenger side, driver side, passenger side, driver side. It was just curtain airbag recalls and little zip tie things and wiring harness, checks, and pulling things off that got, fudged up over at the factory where they didn't tighten something down correctly, and or they over tightened something. So you'd have to go back through and check all these different kinks and rattles and weird little, things with the wiring harnesses and whatnot. So I don't have to do that here at the independent shop, which is actually kind of a luxury that I don't have to do all the recalls anymore. So I'm very, very happy about that. Something else that I do at the independent shop that I didn't do at the dealership is we're working more on like RVs and big utility trucks for like propane companies and electrical companies and things like that. I think we even have another lineup with, who is it? I can't recall. I want to say some kind of solar company that we do, work on their fleet vehicles and things like that. Also tractors, forklifts, RVs. If I haven't already said RVs, we're at the dealership. I didn't work on tractors. We didn't put them on lifts to do oil changes on them. I think the weirdest thing that I had to work on at the independent shop was like a Polaris. It was one of those, four-wheel drive carts that go down the back country and so forth like that. So that was probably the weirdest service call that I did here at the independent shop, was working on a Polaris. But didn't have to do anything like that over at the dealership. Getting into the nuts and bolts of things, you definitely run into a lot more fasteners that are of a special tool is required and things like that here at the independent shop. Or at the dealership, you kind of get used to like one tool set for that specific manufacturer, and so you don't have to own like everything under the sun as far as tools are concerned. So those are a couple little things that I noticed, some of the differences between the dealership versus the independent shop. I hope you guys like this video. Thanks as always for watching. I hope you're enjoying your work week so far. Hit the thumbs up, share, comment, like, subscribe, all that other good stuff. Post down in the comments if you work at an independent shop or a dealership, what you like and dislike about it, and let's have a talk. All right, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you guys later.